Wayne Hebe, an artist friend of mine, once said, "My alternate reality, other than practicing law, was the art and crafts and going to visit artists." And I think for some of them, the money may have helped in certain ways, but it was also maybe a validation that somebody had bought their work and was actually wanted to live with it. I mean, I've heard that from a number of people. Wayne would say that about a number of students who said, well, you came and you bought this piece, and that was a real start for them feeling that they, even if they didn't get a gallery or something else, that they made work that somebody would, validated. Well, I never had a lifelong interest in art because I never had an art course or had any interest in art. It's always been about my connection with the artist. I think what you have to understand, at least from my point of view, is that at one point, Cranbrook fed an awful lot of people into the fiber field as teachers, and Alfred, as somebody said, was the Mount Sinai of ceramics. You start from thinking about what you're going to allocate your resources on. I allocated resources on a couple buildings when I could have bought a Ferrari, or maybe an Arneson or a Volcus. Ned and I have known each other. She's been my legal administrator for 40 years. So she said, I don't want to be stuck if something happens to you trying to reconstruct anything about any of these things that I don't know anything about. But it was also realizing that there was something important about the fact that I probably still, and I hope I still, remember almost everything. There's a whole series of psychological studies about collecting. I used to collect articles about them when I was more interested in why I did what I did, or do what I do. Maybe the biggest influence is being open to ideas. That led me to artists who were very, as I said, like Don and several others, Wayne Hebe, Warren Seelig, other people who were influential because they talked about the ideas behind what they were doing. I don't know that a lot of people have the same kind of feeling about the building that they live in. I've lived in it for 55 years. I met Don Wright in 1961. We talked a lot about architecture and design. At one point, he had convinced me that building a house or architecture was just another exercise in three-dimensional design, I think were his words, and me being a tabula rasa at the time, I believed that. Collecting art is different than collecting other kinds of things. It's a little more obsessive. And while I don't want to denigrate the people who collect Ukrainian colored eggs or something, art is art. If it's done really, really well, I think an obsession for collecting art is at a different level. The idea was that the money from the collection will be used to help students in one way or another.